Each year, companies from across Vermont trek down to West Springfield, Massachusetts for the Eastern States Exposition, or Big E. Every New England state is represented here, including Vermont, of course. And I'm joined now by Sheila Masterson, the manager of the Vermont building. So good to see you, as always, in Massachusetts. Well, technically Vermont right now, right?
That is correct, yes. We do own the state building and the land that it sits on here in Massachusetts.
So there's about 23 vendors this year at the Vermont building. There's one new one, Gringo Jack's. Why only one new one? Is it very hard to get into this?
We do have a list, and they have to go through a review process to get into the...
Well, the world's largest beer festival is happening in Munich, Germany.
But beer fans and beer makers are celebrating Oktoberfest on Burlington's waterfront, too. That's where we find Gina Bullard tonight. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Jennifer and Darren. Will grab your lederhosen and your drindles. And who the heck needs Germany when you can come down to the Burlington waterfront to experience the first annual Oktoberfest Vermont. This is a Bavarian-themed festival with a made-in-Vermont twist. It's sold out to beer aficionados throughout the weekend. And like its namesake, there is going to be lots of games, singing, eating tons of sausages, and some would say, most importantly, beer drinking. There are more than 40 different breweries here for the two-day festival, and most of them are from Vermont, but there are some other ones mixed in. Ski season is around the corner, and when Vermonters trying to get people to rethink the way they get down the slopes. Cyrus Schenk started renowned and innovative company that's breaking the mold. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what is so renowned about Renowned Skis?
Well, so there's quite a few skis out there in the industry.
Right.
People know that. We are the only company in the world that's putting a non-Newtonian material inside of a ski.
So what does that mean,
non-Newtonian? So rather than try to explain to you, I feel we're just going to just show it. So this is an example of a non-Newtonian. And you can actually...
it's like silly putty or something.
Silly putty.
Oh, it's really sticky.
Cornstarch and water has the same properties as this.
Okay.
And so, you know, think of, this is a powder day, right?
Okay.
Soft ski, you want to have some flexibility in there. When the going gets rough and you want to go a little faster,
what do I do here?
Just hit it as hard as you can.
This?
As hard as, no, come on. Hit harder.
Hit it harder? Yeah. Oh my God. Am I breaking your finger?
No, that's fine. Really? So what's happening is...
what happens? Yeah.
So the molecules inside of this are basically getting caught up on one another.
Okay.
And so what it allows us to do when you put that into a ski is as you ski faster and as you ski harder, those molecules keep getting caught up, and its ski effectively is getting stiff.
Gina. Sorry, who doesn't love Apple Week? Tonight we are making soup. Justin Bigelow of Daily Planet shows us how to make apple and fennel bisque with blue cheese croutons.
Sounds outstanding. Open Studio Weekend starts Friday. Now, artists all over Vermont will open their studios up this weekend, inviting the public in to see what they do and talk art. Potter Noel Bailey and Vermont Arts Council board member Alyssa Campbell tell us all about it.
Plus, earlier this week, Attorney General Bill Sorrell announced he's not running for re-election. 7 Days political reporter Paul Heinz investigates why.
And 20 years ago today, the Air Force pulled out of Plattsburgh. We will look at how the community has fared in Top Stories.
From WCAX, Vermont's most trusted news source, this is the Channel 3 News.
Attorney General Bill Sorrell is not running again. After winning re-election 9 times since 1997, he announced earlier this week that this term will be his last. 7 Days political writer Paul Heinz wrote about that in his article this week. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Gina.
So why now? Why is he leaving now?
Well, it's hard to say precisely why. Attorney General Sorrell, when he announced this news, did so in this sort of terse 5-sentence statement that he emailed out to reporters on Monday afternoon. There was no big press conference, no real explanation, but he's been in office for a very long time. He was appointed to the post by Howard Dean back in 1997, and he's been in and out of public office since the mid-1970s.
He is currently under investigation for possibly violating some campaign finance laws. Talk about what exactly he's being investigated for, and if that does play a role in this decision.
That's right. Well, it's a long and complicated story, and just to start out with, Sorrell says that this is not why he's stepping down, but it's quite unprecedented to see an investigation like this going on in Vermont. This started last March when Attorney General Sorrell made some accusations about another candidate, Dean Corrin, about campaign finance violations of his, or alleged violations. Following that, 7 Days did about 2 months worth of stories investigating Sorrell's own issues with campaign finances over the years. And we found some pretty troubling stuff involving donations from lobbyists who were requesting official action from his office. And there were a couple of times when those requests and the donations came in very close proximity. And so that led to a state Senate committee calling for an independent investigation. The governor called for the same, and eventually an independent investigator was appointed, and his work is ongoing.
And he didn't choose to wait until that investigation was over before announcing this.
That's right. So throughout the summer, Attorney General Sorrell said that he wanted to wait for this investigation to be completed because he was quite confident that it would clear him. I think he wanted to be able to say, look, you know, I did nothing wrong. Tom Little, the investigator, has proved this, and now I'm going to step down. So I think that's sort of what a lot of people expected. But this investigation has dragged on a little bit longer than at least he anticipated, and we don't quite know when exactly that will be. Meanwhile, the race itself is starting to heat up a little bit, so I think there was probably some pressure on Sorrell to make a decision one way or the other and make that decision clear. Let's
talk about the race a little bit. Chittenden County State's Attorney T.J. Donovan is running. What is their relationship like?
Well, it's been a little bit frosty. As you remember, back in 2012, Donovan challenged Sorrell. It was the first real race that Sorrell faced in his very long career in public service, and it was a very tough one. They actually come from families that have been close for generations, sort of Burlington Democratic families, and it got heated, it got personal, and Sorrell just barely beat T.J. Donovan. So I think nobody was really looking forward to a rematch, except perhaps the press. Certainly they weren't, so I think they were able to head it off.
Did you reach out to Attorney General Bill Sorrell? What did he have to say about all this?
General Sorrell has not returned my calls in quite some time, so I wasn't able to get his point of view for this story. But
why do you think he's not returning them?
Well, you know, I think 7 Days did its job last spring, and we spent a lot of time looking at his own record. We found a lot of things that were, frankly, pretty incriminating. And so he spoke to us initially, but he stopped speaking with us during the course of that investigation. And I can understand no politician wants to be investigated, but that's what our job is. So he did speak to other news outlets, and we were able to quote some of those remarks in our story. We certainly do want to include his point of view, but we think these are pretty important issues. They're very serious allegations, and I, as a political columnist, am hopeful that this investigator will get to the bottom of it one way or the other.
Well, it's a really interesting read. Paul Heinz of 7 Days, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Chances are you're going to spend less heating your home this winter. Kristen Kelly has more on the falling price of fuel oil and propane. Hi there.
Hi there, Gina.
We continue Apple Week tonight with a savory dish. Justin Bigelow is here from the Daily Planet to show us how to make apple and fennel bisque with blue cheese croutons. This sounds delicious. Yes, we're so happy to have you back. So how did you come up with this recipe? Is it hard? Sounds fancy.
This was something I just kind of threw together real quick, actually.
Okay. And can people throw it together quick at home?
Absolutely. Yeah, It's not a difficult dish at all.
All right. How do we do it?
Okay. So we are going to start with our apple.
Okay. The key of this week.
If you want to go ahead and start peeling that.
All right. Any specific apple? Like variety.
This is a Macintosh apple.
Okay.
One of my favorites growing up as a kid. We always considered it sort of the king of the apples. So, while you're doing that, I'll get the stock started for us.
All right, and what is that?
This is apple cider. We're going to do 1 cup of apple cider and 1 cup of water.
Okay.
And then I've already trimmed off all of the fennel stalks. I'm just going to add that for a little extra flavor.
So that's just the top of the fennel?
That's just the top of the fennel, yep.
Okay.
Completely edible. It doesn't have as much flavor in it, but it's definitely an underused portion of the vegetable.
Okay. I'm okay here.
You're good.
All right, that's enough.
All right, so next you're going to core it.
Oh, geez.
Just go ahead and shove that right in there.
Oh, God, I almost took off my hand. Maybe this was a good job for you. Okay.
All right. Just push it in.
All right.
Pull it out.
Cored apple.
And then if you want to go ahead and do a quick chop on it, just like that.
All right. How many apples do you need for this?
We are going to do 3 apples for this recipe.
Okay.
This recipe is going to make 4 to 6 portions.
Oh, that's...
And while you're doing that, I'm going to get the oil in the pan.
Now, what's the oil
started.
Okay.
Because we are going to saute. We're going to start sauteing our apples. And if you want to go ahead and do a quick chop on the celery.
You're really putting me to work tonight, Justin.
The onion. We're going to get this going.
Okay.
Celery, perfect.
Okay.
We're going to add that.
Now, how long does that need to cook for?
This is we're gonna cook it down until everything's tender, and then we're gonna actually add the stock to it.
More?
Nope, that's good.
Okay?
Yeah, and then the fennel is next.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do that.
You've done this? Okay, with the fennel, you just wanna take off the top, split it in half.
So fennel obviously has like a licorice taste. Now, does that
that's what
come
we're going
through
for
a lot
with the
in the soup?
It does, yeah. So I'll just give this a quick chop.
All right.
And that's it for our veggies.
All right.
We'll let those saute down. While those are going, we'll start on our croutons.
Which sound amazing. Yeah, what do we need to do for these?
If you want to go ahead and mix these 3 things.
Okay, so blue cheese.
Yep.
What's this?
Panko crumbs, unseasoned.
Okay. And then
one egg.
Oh gosh. Don't worry about the shell, Mike.
Go ahead and get right in there and mix it up.
With my hands?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no bread? This is the crouton?
That is the actual crouton.
Everything in there were going to cover like croutons. Okay.
So once you're mixed, we're going to take the mixture and we're going to flatten it out right onto this plate. You can just pour the whole thing right on there.
All right.
We're going to press it down, and then you can take that other plate and just pop it right on top.
Okay.
And then we're going to refrigerate this for 30 minutes.
So do you have to cook it?
You do.
Okay.
30 minutes later, you've got this.
Oh.
So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into our little squares.
Oh, so we're like making the croutons.
We are making the croutons, yeah.
Okay.
So to my right, I've got a saute pan with some oil in it. I've got 1 cup of oil over medium heat.
Okay.
Good way to test and see if your
oil is hot.
Your oil is hot enough is just to take a drop of water.
Oh,
and you should get a little sizzle.
I'm gonna wash my eggy hands. Okay, so what are we throwing those in there?
We're gonna do small batches on the croutons.
And how long do those take?
These are not going to take long at all.
Okay.
We want them golden brown. You're going to notice that the cheese starts to sort of melt out of them.
Okay.
And they're ready at that point.
So, Mike, you should try the finished product. At what point now do we mix these, and how do we get to soup?
The next step is to strain the stock into here. And then we're going to add our maple, our heavy cream.
Okay.
We've got
and then we
a little
blend
brandy. Little cinnamon and a little bit of thyme.
Okay.
This is really good.
And then everything goes straight into the blender.
And blend it up, and we have bisque, and verdict is it's amazing. How's the crouton?
It's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a great flavor to it.
Awesome. Justin, thank you so much. We'll have the recipe on our website. Apple Week's off to a great start.
Absolutely. And